water there? And then I noticed it was over there, and it was coming out, and I heard a stink, and I went in, and there was water everywhere. This semester, I'm teaching my philosophical perspectives on the self. I have my philosophy and lit class, and then I have my David Foster Wallace and metaphilosophy seminar. I'm teaching a course called Literary Philosophers, which is about genres of writing in philosophy. So like dialogue, meditation, satire, novel, fiction, nonfiction journalism, and then the students have to write in that style. So every genre, we'll have like a little writing workshop.
You can do it. This semester, I'm teaching Intro to Women's and Gender Studies, which I'm also teaching next semester. And this semester, I am also teaching a course called Decolonial Feminisms. And next semester, I'm hoping to teach a class called Feminist Approaches to Community Building, and another class which I hope will dovetail with that Feminist Approaches to Community Building seminar called Transnational Feminist Movements, which will largely be a speaker series. So hopefully those two classes taken together will be a class about organizing, community building, and also practicing the things that we learn.
Are we ready? Okay. Yes. Ask what?
See your full face too.
Take off my shades. Cool. Yes. Right now I'm just teaching two. My intro, which is one of my favorite classes to teach, and then the anthropology of food class is also one of my favorites to teach. I think the students are so interested in food. We get to talk about all the different ways anthropologists study food, from thinking about food as cultural construct to theorizing what it means to be human as eaters. And then the second half of the course is all about all the inequality that's rampant in our food system and how anthropologists have gone about studying that. Next semester, I get to teach my an upper level seminar about food justice. I think it's a 400 level because it has an experiential learning aspect to it.
Have you done anything like cooperative living yourself?
I've had roommates. I've had parents. I do think that there's something cooperative about that, for sure.
Just, living with my family.
I grew up in a decently big family in a small house.
And then living in apartments with friends.
It's always hard at the beginning while you're trying to figure out a routine and try to figure out the divvying up the responsibilities.
I've never been in a place that's called a co-op, but I do think I have done cooperative living, for sure.
The largest group of us that lived together there were 6 of us in one apartment. We would have like an alternating thing, and we would eat dinner together like twice a week, and someone would cook and someone would clean up. And that lasted about 3 weeks, maybe 2. It didn't last very long.
Yeah, it's not easy.
I think for anthropologists, that's one of the most interesting parts, when things get codified, when things are new.
The cleaning thing, it was like whoever just decided it was too disgusting was the one who would clean up, and then of course complain endlessly about the fact that they had done all this work. So
Cooperative living is not the same thing as just chilling.
As I did it with my friends, we had all the same ups and downs.
So I did a Levitt project on intentional communities.
There's typically people who are formally in charge, and then there's always informal leaders who end up talking more than others, and so navigating all of those things socially is a fascinating thing.
In relationships with people that you live with, you learn a lot, and maybe if you're not learning, then not to say you're not cooperative living together, but I think that in the course of cooperation, doing something with another person, you learn a lot.
And still to this day, we're still negotiating, how to run a household. And how to cook, especially with 2 little kids. There's so much work, and there's never enough time.
So there's a responsibility there to yourself, to the people that you're with.
The other, of course, is how do you make decisions as a group? And that's a problem that doesn't go away, right? You know, that's a problem you end up with when you're part of a family, when you're part of a department, when you're part of a college.
That's been, I think, for me, the biggest thing as an adult. Now taking care of kids, it just adds a lot. The stakes seem higher with the responsibilities.
I also have a bee in my bonnet about my friend who would eat all my pretzels and then never replace them. So,
How do you make sure that everyone gets heard?
totally fine to eat my pretzels, but replace them, or get me something else equally delicious.
When everybody has to figure out their role and how you're going to divvy up the work, how are you going to talk about things, who's going to be in charge.
That people are also engaged in the process in fruitful ways as opposed to just dive bombing in, dropping a turd and leaving.
But then as an anthropologist, watching it unfold and trying to analyze it was to me the most fun part of it. I don't know how my roommates felt about that analysis, but for me that was an interesting part of it.
Why did you choose your current discipline in undergrad or grad school?
Well, I was going to be an English major, and my parents were really opposed. So I tried out a bunch of other things. I tried out econ. I hated it.
I actually studied math first in college and then went to China and learned Chinese.
When I was an undergrad, I chose to major in sociology because I was reading theory in those classes that made sense to me, that resonated with my experience of the world. It gave me a vocabulary to think about things that I had been thinking about.
And then I stumbled into an anthropology class when I went back to school. And I realized that what they were doing was very similar to what I had been doing, but they had a discipline and theoretical orientations that helped them think about things.
And I ended up by chance in a philosophy class. I thought it was an English class, so I took it. It was called Genre of the Self.
Sitting in that class, I think some of my buddies who were in the class found it a little boring or a little strange to unpack certain concepts or to linger for so long on seemingly trivial details.
I think I like the creative way in which philosophy makes you think about what you take for granted.
And so it felt like coming home.
And it also pushed me to think about things I hadn't thought about and understand myself in new ways.
I've learned so much about the world and about socializing through the discipline. That's really shaped, I think, who I am.
I think learning is often about learning about yourself.
And I remember going home my sophomore Thanksgiving and telling my parents, I was like, guess what? I'm not going to be an English major. And they were like, oh, thank God, I said, I'm going to be an English and philosophy major.
And I also majored in math as an undergrad. And I did that because I weirdly like math. I just like it. So
I think having now the tools to talk about it and to teach others has been a journey, but one that's felt very fulfilling.
So if you hadn't become a professor, what would you be doing?
I don't know. I would like to know because maybe I'll do that someday.
I think I was always drawn to teaching. So I think if I wasn't a professor, I'd probably be teaching at the high school level.
I'd probably be a lawyer, really.
I don't know, I don't want to have to have a career. Like, what the fuck? I don't want a career. Yeah, I don't want to have a living. I want my life to be separate from,
I remember even in kindergarten wanting to help my teachers grade. And so there was always, which is my least favorite part of my job now, but there was always that sense of wanting to be a part of the learning process. So I do think I would have been some kind of teacher.
And my parents thought it was great because they said I like to argue, and so they thought like lawyer was a perfect thing. So I'd probably be a lawyer.
How would I want to make money? I really, sincerely, I would like to know, but I can't access it right now. Yeah. Be a Jello mold. I don't know. Be a dog. Human dog.
What is the best part of your job as a professor?
Getting to go to co-op dinner. Delicious. So good. No, I think the best part of my job is the students, y'all.
You know, I'm not one of those people who comes in and says, I'm going to tell you my expert opinion. You know, I like actually being in a little intellectual community.
I think part of teaching is relearning the stuff, working through it with students, but also going back through materials and deciding what's important enough to linger on in class and what the takeaway should be, I think helps me relearn the material.
It's really wonderful to learn together and to be able to put my trust in my classes and have my classes trust me and experience that. And it's always new and it's always fulfilling.
Here, I think it's really fun to get to know students. So I have students in my office all the time. We were in New York City last weekend and we got to visit with some students of mine from the past, and students always come back, and I don't know, forming those relationships, keeping in touch with people, has been really meaningful to me.
I should get a medal, don't you think? It saved us from a great disaster.
Yeah, you should get like praised during the CNC day.
Yes.